guys, Anamortis here. Wanted to provide a bit of a gift in regards to the latest release for Ubuntu 22.04, Jammy Jellyfish, which just came out yesterday. Got this off of a torrent from the official website just to kind of limit the burden on the servers. So I've downloaded this, and I wanted to keep a promise I had made in one of my earlier videos to set up a Btrfs file system installation. So I thought I'd go ahead and do that, and I'd do it on Ubuntu just to kind of show you how it's done. This process is basically the same as the other one, but what you're getting is a other one being Debian, but you're going to get an Ubuntu system instead. This also process could be very handy because I realize now that it doesn't include snaps, and I know there are some people who don't want to have snaps installed when they first put in their Ubuntu system. So here's a way to get that to happen. So I will begin now and just go ahead. So I'll mention too, I had wanted to get Fedora installed in this process, but I had been unable to accomplish it. I got all the way to the grub installer, and then it just kind of said no. Fedora seems to have a different grub installation process than Ubuntu Debian do, even Void Linux, so I haven't succeeded in that yet. I hope I can in the near future. Anyway, sudo su- just to get to root, apt update. You can see this is a brand spanking new release because there are no new packages to include in this installation when I do an apt update. So as previously, we'll do an lsblk to just look at our disks. We have the snap loops that Ubuntu uses. We have the live CD itself, and then we have our hard drive, which for me is VDA. For you, it might be NVMe1. It might be SDA, or SDB, whatever. But for this setup, it is that. So we're going to do an fdisk, and we're going to push G just to make it a GPT drive. New, and we're going to create 3 partitions, a EFI partition, swap, and full partition. We will be using a swap space, not a swap file, because number one, I think I just like them better, but number two, Btrfs doesn't work great with swap files. I think you can do them, but they don't. They're just a huge challenge to set up. You're better off just making a swap partition if you have the choice. So we're going to just default to default 1, first sector default. The last sector will be 512 M for megs plus, and then we're going to change the type with T. EFI partition is 1, we'll turn that into an EFI partition. And for new, default 2, first sector default, last sector. I have 8 gigs of RAM on this installation. I am going to go 16 gigs, or plus 16 gigs to make it a 16 gigabyte swap partition. This is just because swap partitions should generally be, if you have a lot of RAM, the same as the amount of RAM you have, or if you have less RAM, they should be, I would say, double. And 8 gigabytes, I would argue, is a lesser RAM situation. So we'll make a 16 gigabyte swap partition. Type it on partition default 2. Swap is 19. And then we'll make one more partition defaults all the way down, and W to write. So now, if you look at our lsblk, we have 3 partitions there, and that is VDA1, VDA2, and VDA3. We are going to have to create the file systems for these partitions. So first of all, if you recall from my other videos, the EFI partition has to be a VFAT partition. It's just required in order for it to work. Then we need to make the swap partition, make swap. So that's now a swap partition. And then finally, we need to make our Btrfs partition on VDA3. And that'll just run its course. It only takes a few seconds, at least on my computer. And that will make that partition Btrfs. Now, here's the interesting part. We need to create subvolumes for Btrfs. One of the advantages that Btrfs offers is this subvoluming system, which allows you to divide and basically repartition the one partition even less than it already is. And what I can tell you there is you can do a whole lot with that. It is beyond the scope of this video and my knowledge to do anything other than a really basic desktop, but I'm going to set up that really basic desktop for you here in this, and then maybe later I can go through some of the options that you can do, or you can just do some Googling. So this mount is temporary. We're only going to be doing this for our initial creation of the subvolume system. We have it mounted. We need to first create our Btrfs subvolume, create mnt at, and that's our root subvolume. Do it again for home, and then for the scope of this video, snapshots, and that's it. That's all we're going to do for now. And then we umount mnt. That is because instead of writing to just the partition, we're going to write to the subvolume. We have to mount the subvolume though, and that takes a different command. So mount type Btrfs -o no a time compress equals lzo space cache equals v2 and subvol equals at, and then we will, and that just mounts that subvolume to there. Okay, now that we have that partition mounted, we need to make some subfolders within, or subvolume within the partition mounted. We need to make the subfolders for the other subvolumes. So we're going to do a make dir, p for path, and then we're going to mount curly, do a boot home, and dot snapshots. And then we'll curly out. We'll have those subfolders created. And then we'll mount, oh, we don't even need to retype that. We can just push up. We go over to the @ sign, we do @ home, and then /home. Then we'll do it again. And now we have, and if we do an lsblk now, as you can see, VDA3 is split into these 3 subvolumes. It's no longer just a single volume. Older versions will not just provide those 3. Some of them will only provide 1, or the last one you did. But that is what has happened. So now we're going to mount. Oh, we need to actually. We'll need to mount the EFI partition, but we need to make a folder for it first. So we'll make dir p, and then we'll do a mount. Okay, we got that mounted. All good there. Now we need to install the Bootstrap. And it should only take a second. And now we're going to do the fun part. We're going to be putting our new operating system to our hard drive. So we'll do debootstrap. This is a jammy system. And that's what we do. So let's just let this roll. It'll take a little bit. Just sit back and relax. Okay, and that's what you want to see. You want to see base system installed successfully. So now that we have everything debootstrapped in, we are going to copy in our apt sources list, so that way when we get into our new system, we can use apt. So now we have that. I'm going to check it just to make sure that it looks okay. As you can see, everything looks pretty good. We do not need the CD-ROM though, because we're not going to be running off a live CD. It'll be a locally installed system. Now we need to mount the pseudo file systems. This associates the hardware with the rest of the system. So we'll do for dir in sys dev proc. And I got this off the Void Linux Chroot installation guide. An amazing discovery, because I would not have known how to do this on my own. So thank you. Not and mount make our slave dir done. Okay, and then finally we need to copy the edcresolve.conf to there, so we have internet inside of it. Now it's time to Chroot onto our new installation. All right, and there we are. We're inside. Let's clear that. First things first, app needs updating. All right, app is updated. Everything's good. We need to install what are basically the Btrfs drivers. Probably a better way of calling that, but That's what I'm calling it right now. So that's Btrfs progs. We will apt install that, and then just yes, let that download and install. It takes a moment. Now we need to adjust the locales. In Debian, you will want to install locales first. Ubuntu includes them in the debootstrap process, so depackage reconfigure locales. This lets us choose our language. I'm an American speaking English, so I will do EN US UTF-8. I'll press space to put a little star by that. Hit enter. Choose it from down the list. Hit enter again, and generation complete. Now we set a root password. Password updated successfully. And now we need to install the kernel and important software. This will include graphical environment. Ubuntu demands a graphical environment to work. Debian, you don't need the graphical environment, but we're going to install that here. This will take a little bit, but it's Linux, image, AMD, 64. It's different for Debian. If you need the packages for Debian, please look at my Debian video. IDP, Vim, and let's see, Vim. Actually, we don't need NTP. Sudo Vim. We need build essential GDM3 so we can log in. GNOME shell common, and then GNOME terminal so we can use a terminal, and that should do it. That is the Debian Linux kernel, generic for Ubuntu. And yeah, we're just going to let this run its course. It's going to take a little bit. I'm going to let the video run and come right back. Okay, we have those installed. Now we need to do the, I don't know, kind of tedious for me, but maybe it's because I've done too many of these videos. We need to create the Fstab. CP, we need to first take the proc mounts file and copy it to our etc Fstab. And then we need to go into the Fstab and delete. So we're going to keep anything dev, and we're going to keep tempfs. Everything else goes. And then tempfs, we're going to point this at the temp folder. Now you'll note that VDA3 is referred to 3 times, and in its variables associates a subvolume. So we want to make sure that VDA3 has the correct UUID. Now I will note, some people will use these part IDs. Do not use these. They do not work with Btrfs. They do not work. This is what you want. You want the regular UUID. Btrfs will not recognize the part UUID. So we'll just go in here and remove that, or put that in. UUID, get rid of the quotes, and then we just do that for all 3. Very straightforward. X is your delete. Now we need to do it for VDA1. Shift SS to save. UUID, much shorter because it's just a VFAT partition. And we go in, insert, delete the quotations. See in the quotate, I messed up. Force, drop out of that, try that again. Insert, Control V. Again, quotations are nice because they tell you where things start and end on that. And Shift CZ. And then we need to add our swap, which is really straightforward. We need to pull this, copy that. Insert Control V, get rid of our quotation marks, A to append, swap, defaults 0, 0. Now we have all the partitions are set up in Fstab. Now we need to just edit the host name. This says Ubuntu. I'm gonna use Ubuntu demo That's going to be the name of the computer on the network. And then we'll go to ECTC hosts. We want to change all these references to localhost to what we chose for etc hosts. So that's 2 of them for Ubuntu. Shift-CZ and save that. So now we got that done. Now we just need to set our time zone. Depackage reconfigure TZ data. I'm on the eastern seaboard of the United States, so we choose US Eastern. Now, this is very important for Ubuntu, not nearly as important for Debian. Debian can handle it without it, but because Ubuntu demands a graphical login, you need to have a user. So user add -m capital G, so it includes a new group when you create it. And we'll add this to the sudo group. And Aaron, for me, set a password for Aaron. Okay, that's safely completed. Now we need to install grub. Grub EFI MD64. And just yes, let this run its course. Shouldn't take more than a moment, depending on your computer speed, obviously. Then we install grub. And you just want to see installation finished, no error reported. And then update grub, so grub has a menu list. And that should do it. We can safely reboot from here and get out of this live environment. So here we go. We are logged in, or we have created our Ubuntu Linux. We have created our user. We have a desktop. And here's your just basic GNOME desktop. Let's get this at a resolution that is not so hard on your eyes. There we go. That cleans that up a lot. And yeah, just here's Ubuntu. This is Ubuntu. I am not lying. Number one, you saw it boot, but here it is. Ubuntu demo, 5.15.25 generic Ubuntu, and new Linux. So here's your flat Ubuntu, no snaps, app search, and yeah, this is just what you want. You are now the proud owner of a bare bones Ubuntu Jammy Jellyfish installation on Btrfs. As you can see, everything loaded up okay. We got our swap space, EFI partition, home snapshots, and everything. So that's it. That's the gist of our video. I will recommend. I'm going to make a follow-up video potentially on how to manage snapshots, or you can just go in. Snapper is a really good application for managing that. Let's see. Do not have an Ubuntu, so we'll have to find just different ways to manage this. Btrfs can handle its own snapshotting through terminal commands. Maybe you do it through a cron job, but it's all here. And I think for my next video, let's do, well, I'm going to keep trying to get Fedora to work. I am going to experiment with Ubuntu a little more and see if I can get you the right applications for how to set this up and manage this. But, yeah, no, you're good to go. Okay, guys, what I ended up discovering is that we need to enable the multiverse repository. So, based on my previous instructions, you're going to get on and you're not going to have any internet connection. When you do a ping google.com, it's not going to do anything. So, what we need to do is we need to sudo vim etc app and then go to the sources.list, log my password, and we're just going to append. You're going to see it's going to look like this, main restricted. We're going to just add universe to the end of that. We'll do that for all 3 lines. Double click SX. Then we're going to do a sudo dh client, and that makes sure you can get online. So that's going to work again. And then we're going to do a sudo apt install dhcpcd5. I have installed this already, but and I mean, if you recall from my previous videos, from the Debian video, that's what you need to do in order to get internet. So then we'll just do sudo system control enable dhcpcd5, and that is, we don't need the 5 at the end. Sudo system control enable dhcpcd, and that has been enabled. So now we will have internet whenever we need it, and we can do what we need to do. If you don't like this shell, you can do the chsh command. Put in your password, bin bash. Next time you log in, it'll be in bash. We'll just launch bash manually. And yeah, this is an Ubuntu system. The GNOME login screen will be really low resolution until you install your appropriate graphics drivers. In this environment, I'm not going to have them. If you want sound, I like to do Pavu control, because that will load up Pulse Audio that will give you tight control over that. And we can just do that. Pulse Audio actually should already be in Ubuntu. So there, now we have sound. We will want to maybe fix this mouse. I think we need to install mouse cursors. So actually, let's install Synaptic. Let's install GNOME tweaks. And we'll just hit enter there. Let that run its course. Loading up everything from Jammy. You got a really high functioning desktop here. Also, if you enable Universe, you can see you can gain access to Flatpak, which is a Snap alternative. That's my preferred. We can go to FlatHub and get access to the Flatpak primary repository. If you don't want to install the Firefox Snap, I recommend using the Epiphany browser. That will just download the latest and greatest GNOME associated WebKit browser. And you know, I really like Epiphany personally. Google services don't seem to like it because they see it's WebKit, but it's not Chrome. That is Google's fault. It is not. It is not GNOME's fault at all. So we'll go to flathub.org, or you can just do install snapd and you can get your snaps in. But personally, on my Debian system, this is how I run on my current really stable. I run a Flatpak of Firefox. And yeah, no, you're in good shape. Let's go to Synaptic. Close, go away. Let's see if we can get tweaks. Fix this mouse cursor. Cursor, icons. See, I don't have a mouse cursor installed. You know, this is just kind of indicative of the kind of system you're running. It's very... let's see, Breeze cursor. It's very bare bones, which is something you're just plain not going to get with the automatic installer on the website. So let's see if that resolved that. Close tweaks. I might have to log out and log back in again. Appearance. There we go. Okay, that fixed it. Now we got a mouse cursor. So yeah, no, go to town, go nuts, enjoy your Ubuntu, but fully customized Btrfs installation. Snapshotting is great. Let's see if... Yeah, they got Snapper. So let's do sudo apt install Snapper. Do GUI too, so I can manage it on the GUI. And let's see here. Snapper GUI. This is great because you can take snapshots, description cleanup. This is crazy. I would do a Google search and just research this a little bit more, but you can save or take snapshots of certain folders. Like if you have, I don't know, papers or something that you want to have backed up, you want to have saved, and let's say your little brother or your wife comes in and deletes all your files, then you can just restore them through Stapper because Btrfs has a snapping system. So there you go. I'm going to try to be ambitious. I'm going to try to get that Fedora video completed. And then long term, I want to do like what I would call a complete install, which is Debian. We're going to go Debian, Btrfs, and Lux encryption. I need to do a little more research on that before I get there too. So that might be a little bit, but enjoy this video and thank you guys for watching.